Thank you. Let's not have any feedback. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our 19th annual meeting of membership. Looks like we have a pretty good turnout this morning. This is obviously a experiment for all of us. Zoom is not ideal. I miss seeing everyone in person, and we're looking forward to doing that again next year. But at least this way we don't have to worry about the caterers not showing up, which is always a good thing. I guess I'm going to save the remarks for later. We will have to improvise a little bit as this program goes on. But first, I want to start off the program by introducing our chairman since last December, Steve Cherniak. Steve?
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who may not know me, I am Stephen Cherniak, Chief Operating Officer at Cohen Brothers Realty Corporation and Chairman of the East Midtown Partnership Board of Directors. I would like to welcome you all to our 19th annual meeting of membership and call the 2020 annual meeting to order. We are in unprecedented times and much has changed since the coronavirus pandemic partially shut down New York City and greatly impacted our way of life, our livelihood, and our health and well-being. With the latest developments in medicine and the vaccine just around the corner and well within reach, I am confident we will get through this horrific challenge. I hope that each of you and your families remain healthy and safe, and look forward to our next annual meeting in person and to many joyous celebrations in the interim. It is gratifying to see such a great turnout from our property owners, business people, residents, and community leaders. Before we begin, I would like to welcome a few special guests who we will hear from later in the program. Janelle Doris, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Small Business Services, who has done an outstanding job helping getting our community up and running as we recover from the worst days of this pandemic. City Council Member Keith Powers, a longtime friend of this organization and a strong voice for the East Side and Upper East Side. Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer, one of Midtown's greatest boosters and a driving force behind the recent rezoning of East Midtown. And State Senator Brad Hoylman, one of Albany's most supportive friends of the city's business improvement districts. I would also like to recognize and thank Rob Burns, our president, Sarah Hornung, our director of marketing and business development, Bob Iovino, our director of operations, and the members of the board of directors who have served over the past year with great dedication and in the best interest of our East Midtown community, its businesses, and its residents. These 35 individual members of our board of directors and their 18 alternates are all volunteers, and they put a great deal of time, energy, and creativity into helping guide the organization and improve the East Midtown community. During today's election, and subject to your votes, of course, we will be adding 3 members and 1 alternate to our board of directors. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Colin Burke of Marks Realty and his alternate, Josiah Brock. Marks Realty owns several district properties, including 545 Madison Avenue and the M&B building at 201 East 57th Street. Scott Carpenter of 200 East Tenants Corporation, which owns 200 East 57th Street at 3rd Avenue. Vienna McKenna, representing Sunrise Senior Living. Sunrise's newest venture is Sunrise on East 56th Street at the corner of Lexington Avenue, and we're thrilled to have them join our community. This board of directors reflects the diversity of our neighborhood, but we share one goal: working together to make East Midtown the best community possible. If I can shift gears for a moment, I need to acknowledge the many challenges we have faced over the past 8 months. The pandemic and resultant economic slowdown had a significant and negative impact on our business community, just as businesses around the world have been impacted. We were also affected by unrest and looting last spring. While that disruption only lasted 1 or 2 days in June, mercifully less than in other areas of the city, that is cold comfort to the businesses who were affected. But today, East Midtown is fighting its way back, and the East Midtown Partnership is leading that effort and pledges its unflagging support to helping local businesses, bringing pedestrians back to our streets, keeping the district safe, clean, and well-maintained, and planning for the future. When we fully recover, and we will, even if the landscape might look a bit different than it did before last March, I have no doubt East Midtown Manhattan will reemerge as one of the world's most vital commercial centers, and the board, staff, and local businesses, property owners, and community members who make up the East Midtown Partnership will be the driving force behind that reemergence. I would like to leave you with one final note. Next fall, this organization will hold its 20th annual meeting, and in early 2022, we're looking forward to celebrating our second decade as one of the city's leading business improvement districts. We hope you will all join us. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this morning to participate in this annual meeting, our first and hopefully last to be conducted virtually. Next year, I hope we can once again gather together in person to celebrate another year of success. And now it is my pleasure and honor to turn the program over to Vienna Margulies, Vice Chair of the Board of Directors, for approval of the minutes from the 2019 annual meeting.
Thank you, Steve. And I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2019 minutes.
And I have a motion by Dorothy Cristani and a second by Scott Carpenter. You can vote. There'll be a poll now on the screen. There you go. Okay, very good. The motion is approved. Thank you. And now I would like to, we have a few guest speakers, as Steve mentioned. I'd like to introduce Commissioner Janelle Dorris of the New York City Department of Small Business Services, who took over last spring in the worst time probably to be out there helping to build up the small business community. But he and his staff, his team have been great advocates for businesses in the city, helping to get them up and running again. So let me turn it over now to Commissioner Dorris.
Thanks so much, Rob, and good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone is enjoying this time, at least virtually. We were able to communicate and see each other, but certainly all of our families and all of your families, wishing that everyone is healthy and safe. I just have a few quick comments to make, really just to, first of all, start by thanking the BID and the board members and East Midtown, BID of what you guys are actually doing here to help our city come back. Look, at SBS, we can't do our work alone. We have partners. All 76 BIDs are really at the forefront of this effort. And Rob and Steve, thank you again for all you all are doing to make sure that we get through this crisis. Look, I continue to say at every chance I get that our BIDs are essential to the economic recovery of the city and the sustainability of our city going forward. And so it's really a pleasure for me to come and just highlight some of the things we're doing, but really praise the BID for all that you've done in keeping us going during this most critical time. From the inception here at SBS, as mentioned, our role really is to look out for those 240,000 small businesses we have in the city with over 3.4 million New Yorkers employed. As you think about that, where the New York City's entire working population is about 4.6 million. And if you do the math, the city can't fully come back without a full small business recovery. And so, look, we know our small businesses are tough, they're resilient. We know they're coming back, but they need help, they need support, and they need the BIDs like yourselves to continue to do what you're absolutely doing every single day. Over this pandemic, we've been able to work with our 40 lenders to really help and move the needle on financial assistance to small businesses to the tune of about $110 million so far to about 4,500 small businesses. Again, we've done webinars and trainings. We've set up our hotline, over 45,000 calls to that hotline. And for those who are out there and have not had a chance to call or ask for assistance and guidance with the rules, regulations, or understanding the new regulatory environment, our number is 888-SBS4-NYC, 888-727-4692. And certainly, we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to reach us if need be. We have, helped over 10,000 businesses connect to good jobs, connect New Yorkers to good jobs through our Workforce One centers. As mentioned before, the bids and our small businesses are critical to the economic viability of our city. And so we are very excited about what you all have been doing, really to keep us going. We've distributed masks and, make sure, and other types of thermometers and other things to make sure that the city is safe. As you know, the health crisis really brought on the economic crisis that we're dealing with now. So we do need to take care of the health crisis. And we thank you for being a partner in that with this bid. So listen, but, I think I want to spend a few seconds more about, what this bid has done. And I think this bid has done a tremendous amount of work to keep your district going. You've continued to share accurate and up-to-date information to your constituents. I have to say how important that is throughout this pandemic and the phases of reopening, making sure throughout the phases, everyone knew what was okay, what was not okay, and what was coming back and what was not coming back. And giving that information was critical, and the rules associated with that, so that businesses are able to thrive again in the city. You hosted webinars to help businesses understand the various requirements of reopening. You brought the faces of your district to people at home. Saw what you did also with your Halloween event and through interviews and photography, reminding everyone why the neighborhood is so special. And I know Rob has been more active than ever in the bid association these past months, especially in partnering with the city to tackle some of the challenges on commercial vacancies and street vending challenges that we're having. Look, we are so thankful to you all again for all the work you've done. Look, we've started some really innovative processes and programs and policies to really reinvent New York City at this time. One of those things, there's our Open Streets program, Open Restaurants program, our Open Storefronts program, which bid has been pushing for some time for us to do. And look, we've seen a tremendous number of participating small businesses in those programs. We thought, for instance, the Open Restaurants program, that we'll have maybe 5,000 businesses, 5,000 business restaurants participating, and about 45,000 jobs. But we found now we've got 10,700 businesses in there, and that's that's 90,000 jobs, almost 100,000 jobs here in the city. And so, look, we are excited about the bid and what you've been able to do to help us get over that threshold to make sure that these restaurants and our local retail establishments have a chance to come back even during this time. And one last thing I'll say is that, look, we continue to do some really innovative things here at SBS. We are doing no-cost virtual compliance consultation. That is, essentially setting up a virtual world between the compliance advisor and the small business. We've done over 212 of those across the city. We'll continue to do those innovative things to make sure that our city businesses have what they need. We want to make sure that you all also have what you need, and we will continue to support you. Of course, the SBS is really connected to our board. We're on your board. We're there participating with you to make sure that we get every business back and every commercial corridor back as quickly as possible. I also want to say to all the elected officials coming, the council member, borough president, senators, everyone, they've been tremendous champions throughout this process. And I just also want to thank them for their efforts and for their consistency across the board. Once again, thank you for this invitation. I just wanted to come here and just to really speak on how excellent this board has been, how this bid has been a real partner to SBS across the city as we tackle unprecedented times. And look, since taking commissioner role here back in May, in the middle of the pandemic and the height of it all, we've done everything we can to help our small businesses. But I want to leave this refrain here that We cannot do it by ourselves. There are three principles that we're driving to work here. One is on innovation. We've got to think differently. We've got to be creative. Another is adaptability. We've got to teach our businesses how to adapt, how to pivot in these times. We have to create structures that are sustainable, both in city government, based on our regulatory requirements, policies, procedures, all those things. But the last one we're sort of building a new SBS on is collaboration. And that's what this represents here. We cannot do it alone. We have to be together and work together to bring our city back. So thanks so much again, Rob, for inviting me. Steve, thank you all for the great work that you're doing.
Excuse me. Thank you, Commissioner Doris, and thanks to your entire team. I know that both me and my colleagues in the Business Improvement District Association have sometimes been pains in the neck about trying to get things up and running, but I will say that we always know SBS is on our side. So we do appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you again. And thank you for joining us. And, hopefully I'll leave you alone for the rest of the day. I believe that Councilman Keith Powers is on now. Keith has been a longtime friend, as Steve noted, of both the bid and the bid system in the city. He's just been a great advocate for us, a great supporter, even before the pandemic began, but especially over the last 8 months. So I would like to turn it over now to Council Member Keith Powers. Or Sian? All right. I'll tell you what, let's take things out of order while we get the council member on, because I do know that another longtime friend of ours, Borough President Gail Brewer, is on right now. East Midtown, as you know, went through a major rezoning a few years ago. We've already started to see the fruits of that effort with the reconstruction of the the demolition and rebuilding of the JP Morgan headquarters on Park Avenue, and other developments that are starting to get underway, and that will secure this area's reputation as a center of international commerce for decades to come. So I'd like to turn this over now to Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. Gail?
Thank you very much, Rob, and your leadership, Steve, and certainly Commissioner. I have to say, I think being with Rob is more fun than other bids. You know, he's got a great sense of humor, and you know,
exactly.
that makes a difference, and I appreciate it tremendously. And he helped us get through, perhaps, in my opinion, the most successful rezoning, and I've been through many, many, many. And the fact of the matter is, I know you somewhat share with Grand Central, and that executive director also participated in this rezoning, but it's certainly in that area, it's the great work that has been going on at One Vanderbilt, which spills out into the issues of open space and supporting the subways and all the innovative ideas that came out of that rezoning. And Rob was there every single day. And I'm deeply appreciative because now we're dealing with the Hyatt, which is coming down. Obviously, he talked about JP Morgan Chase, and the Roosevelt Hotel is perhaps on the discussion, and the MTA building. So there's a lot, but it does spill over, I think, into all of the work that you have been doing. And I think it's going to provide jobs. It's going to provide good planning, which is perhaps something that is often lacking, et cetera. So I just want to say thank you. I think it's a legacy item for you, Rob, and your participation, because you were right there with the, I would call it the 3rd Avenue corridor issue. I can almost remember every meeting and every discussion. So thank you so much. Second issue, of course, is all the work that the bids are doing. We try to convene the bids on a somewhat regular basis in Manhattan. Again, East Midtown has been at every meeting. One of the issues that has come up that I look forward to participating in terms of getting it happen is what we would call a, I don't know, public realm czar, public space czar. The bids are in the forefront of trying to figure out how many different agencies, SBS perhaps being the leader, but then you have DOT, you have buildings, you have in the state level, state liquor authority. The list is about 21 agencies working with the daily activities of what's on our streets. And I think it would be great to have somebody to focus on that. Community Board 5 has taken the lead in passing a resolution that says we need such a person. Tim Tompkins, who's the ever intelligent in terms of idea guy in the bid in Times Square, was pushing it really, really hard. So I'm just saying that's something that the bids have had input into, and I appreciate it very much. I also just thank you because I think the great work that the DOT did and SBS and everybody on the retail, the restaurants, the open streets, the open restaurants, retail being able to be out on the streets. You had a huge input into how that program worked. Congratulations. In terms of vacancies, that's something that I've been talking about for a long time. Much fewer wherever there is a bid, to your credit. But by February 2021, I know some owners don't like this, but I don't think it's going to be a big burden. We will be able, if we have this bill way before the pandemic, we'll have a listing, because I'm a big data person, as you know, of all of the vacancies storefront in the city of New York. And instead of saying, I think we have a lot on Broadway, because we have walked the entire Broadway to count them, but I don't know how systemic that is. We'll have the actual number. It in your area, you know what it is. You don't need somebody to tell you, but citywide it would be helpful. And then the question is how we can help reduce that, because you know better than I. I know I get when you have a vacancy and it's near a thriving business, it's very harmful to that business because garbage and homeless, again, not in your area, but in other places, that's what happens. I want to say what I really miss. Collaboration is definitely Rob's way of operating, and with the Chinatown bid, Madison Avenue in between, and your bid, the wonderful Chinese New Year event that you sponsor every year in the beginning of the year, which of course is when Chinese New Year takes place, is phenomenal. I don't know that we're going to be able to quite get there this year, but certainly in the future. I just want to congratulate you because it's one of my favorite opportunities. We're all trying to, figure out how to deal with the pandemic in so many different ways. Yesterday, I gave out food. We've all given out PPE, particularly now, not in your area, but the Uptown community boards are seeing the largest surge in terms of the percentage of COVID. So we are there yesterday. We'll be there tomorrow. We'll be there today, giving out PPE. And I think hopefully it makes a difference. We're also pushing testing. We need more testing, even though we think we have a lot. The lines are long at some of the locations, and we need more constantly. So I'm simply here to say that we will keep working on these issues. Like I said, the public realms are something that I'm focusing on. And I think that the suggestions that come out of, you're absolutely right, Commissioner, the suggestions that come out of the bid meetings are phenomenal. They understand what their businesses need, what the families need. And you certainly have been a wonderful, receptive person to all of those suggestions. The only other thing I want to mention is just technology. It's not necessarily on anybody's list. It's been on my list for a long time. We're still grappling with the technology needs of the students. And obviously with students home today, it's an even bigger need. I won't get into all the specifics because I know literally every school needs and what they are. But I think we should still keep working on this issue for our streets. Another agency to be part of this public realms are how we can get better Wi-Fi faster, something that the stores can really so thank you very much. You are, like I said, a great bid for so many different reasons. You also have the best food when we meet. It does show up on time, Robin. It's always delicious. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Borough President Brewer, and thank you for all your leadership over the last 7 years and for your leadership in the year to come. It's truly a pleasure working with you, and not just because, and the poll quote for this morning is going to be, being with Rob is more fun than being with other bids. So keep that in mind. I would now, the technical glitch is over. I would now like to reintroduce our friend, Councilmember Keith Powers. Keith?
Hello, everybody. Good morning, and sorry about that. And nice to see Gail Brewer. And I always say that about Gail Brewer, being with Brewer is more fun than being with most elected officials. So because we have such a great partnership, and especially when we talk about we are doing so much together to enliven it, to try to develop it, to try to make it a place for the future. But as we've it's been so extremely difficult, and the challenges we face both this area and other parts of my district in Manhattan are numerous and are certainly piling up. But I want to say first, please thank you to everyone here at the partnership. Thank you to the board. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to everybody who helps make this a great place to work and to live, but also just be great partners for us as issues arise in the neighborhood, that we have good eyes and ears and good partners there. Make sure that we are finely tuned and have the attention on the right issues. So I want to say thank you to everybody, always for all, of course, hoping that everybody's staying safe and healthy. And I'm sure, but I think we've been talking about whether we will enter into a second wave at any point, but we are in the second wave now. And while we do consider ourselves, relatively better than other states and other areas, even in our region, our numbers are climbing right now, and that leads us to have to start making some tough decisions about where we go from here. Obviously, the mayor's decision yesterday, schools, I think caught a lot of people by surprise, or at least of it. But now, as we look ahead, I think we are facing possibility that we enter into another world where we have to shut down other indoor activities, facing the likelihood that New York becomes designated an orange zone by the governor, and that leads us to have to look at indoor dining, look at gym, look at other businesses to be able to keep people safe. And I'm hopeful that as we get to the new year and past January 20th, we'll have some changes at the federal level here that will be able to help New York and be able to help keep us, hi Brad Hoylman, and help to keep us also, to have the resources we need to help rebuild our economy. So we're all hopeful for that, but I do think we are entering another few months here ahead of having to do potentially further changes into how we operate. Of course, I had to tell everybody, we need to do this really is up to us. And we have to do our due diligence here, whether it's wearing a mask, tested, being socially distanced. And I share the president's point about testing, which is that we don't have, when I go to get a test, I wait 2-3 hours. And I get no special privileges as an elected official, nor should I, but we have to wait I had to wait 3 hours last week to get a test. It's increasingly demoralizing or disincentivizing to go get a test when you're in that when you're in that wait. So we have a lot of work here to do to try to make some of the ways to keep each other safe better. But a couple of things I've been working on, just so outdoor dining, I was pushing very, very hard for the city council, co-sponsor that legislation with Councilman Reynoso to make it permanent, a great addition to our city and our landscape, and also help businesses at a time where it's really needed. Put out a big small business plan a few months ago called Open Business that detailed a number of steps the city could take that was within our power to go help small businesses. I introduced a bill that was a companion to that, which would further repeal the commercial rent tax, which affects businesses in East Midtown and throughout Manhattan. An extra tax just for being located inside of Manhattan. So we introduced legislation into the city council to repeal the commercial rent tax during COVID. I already have a repeal it further in the city council, which I think would be one step to help our small businesses out at a time where they desperately need financial assistance, can't pay the rent, and are looking for any type of help from our city and state right now. And then finally, have a proposal out there with a few other elected officials for a business assistance program during COVID, which essentially would offer property tax incentives to property owners to come negotiate small leases with with their tenants to basically give them a affordable lease during COVID and beyond COVID. It would be voluntary, of course, but it would give you an incentive to come to the table to negotiate a affordable lease with your tenant. We have a bill in Albany on that, and I've been working with some my colleagues in the city council. I think we got about 30 something people to sign on to a letter in support of it. So we're doing everything we can to try to help small businesses, but it is going to be a little bit based on how much resources we have in the next few months. And then finally, I'll just add, I did an op-ed in Crain's last week talking about how we could eventually get people back to Midtown to work again. And that to me is going to be not just having a safe workplace, but it's also going to be having safe ways to get to work. I still know folks who are obviously a little bit nervous about getting on a crowded subway or getting onto a crowded bus. So ways that we can lean into ways more accessible Midtown, which both include safe and healthy options to get to work, also increasing accessibility in our subway stations. There's some ways with zoning we can do that. So I would ask everybody to take a read to look at that. And then I'll just end on this note is sort of around East Midtown, and this goes into the Fred Cirillo territory as well. Going on with the East Midtown Governing Group, doing a lot of new projects that look like they're coming forward. Ways to improve streetscape as part of that, to modernize our office space, and also to give people a way to feel like they could permanently be at a time where we need, I think, lots of hope around our commercial hubs. So we'll always can come to our meetings. One coming up soon, and I'll leave it at that. And Rob, always nice to see you. Always glad to join you folks. But thank you for all your work during the pandemic and your partnership here. It's great to have you guys in my area as a great.
Thank you, Keith. For anyone, by the way, first of all, that facial hair is coming in great. So congratulations on that.
If not now, why when? If not now.
Exactly. Anyone that had any concern after the last election cycle that we were losing Dan Garodnick, I can say that in having Keith Powers, we are continuing to be extremely well represented in East Midtown on City Council. So thank you for everything, and thank you for staying in touch constantly.
Thank you.
We are also well represented on the state level. State Senator Liz Krueger and State Assemblyman Dan Quart have always been there for us, and they're great. And this morning we're joined by our other state senator. He only has a few blocks of the district, but we're thrilled to have him here this morning because he has become one of the most effective voices in Albany. And he is also a great friend of the business improvement district system in the city. So I want to turn it over to State Senator Brad Hoylman.
Thank you. I guess you can see me. Can you see me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Because I can't see myself. That's just the iPad. So I'm assuming I put on a jacket for you and got all professional. But it's great to see everyone. It is an honor to represent a good portion of Midtown. Contrary to popular conceptions in City Hall, we are not turning our backs on Midtown and believe that the Central Business District, the largest in the world, is the most important in the world and an engine for the city's economy. And I just want you to know I take that very seriously. Like everyone, I think a lot of our constituents are suffering from what we're calling COVID fatigue. We're tired of not being able to congregate, tired of the rules. The holidays are coming up. So it's a difficult time for all of us, including and namely, I think, businesses. As my colleagues alluded to, the positivity rates are very concerning. There's been a 78% increase in hospitalizations in New York, a 15% increase in ICUs, a 16% increase in intubations. So it's not pointing to the right direction, and we have to get those numbers down. And this is requiring a great deal of patience from business owners, from their employees, from everyday New Yorkers. And it's probably going to get more difficult before it gets easier. I want you to know that, Pfizer, a great New York City-based company and in Midtown, of course, about the vaccine news that they shared with the world, showing a 95% efficacy rate. I want you to know that I participated in that Pfizer vaccine trial. And I can tell you personally that while it has some minimal side effects, meaning that I probably got the real thing rather than the placebo, I went on my own and got an antibody test just to see what the efficacy was for me. And my antibodies were off the charts. So to the extent that that gives anyone any further good news about a vaccine coming down the pipeline, I'm happy to share that personal story. Keith Powers and I have been working in Grand Central, and I think it's a model for other businesses about how we could have helped a lot of the small businesses that are struggling to pay rent. A few months ago, I was approached by a local business in my district, which also, of course, spans Midtown, Lilac Chocolates. I know you don't technically represent the businesses there, but I just wanted to share something. They were struggling to pay their rent because of the limited foot traffic. And I reached out to the MTA and helped broker an agreement that will provide a rent abatement for all of those tenants, small businesses who apply from April 1st to July 31st. And any rent collected during that period is going to be retained by the MTA, used to offset future rent. And starting August 1st, 2020, the current rent that they were paying was going to be adjusted to be 10% of their gross sales to the end of 2020, or a minimum annual guaranteed rent equal to 10% of the tenant's original rent. And the rent reduction is going to run until either January 31st, 2023, or when ridership rates return to 75% of pre-COVID-19 levels. So I think it's a great model for other businesses and landlords. And with that in mind, I've introduced legislation at the state level with Assemblymember Harvey Epstein called the Save Our Storefronts Bill, which follows that similar model of shared sacrifice. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think we need to make headway on trying to provide some relief as soon as possible for businesses during this difficult period, either paying rent or direct subsidies. If we're going to ask businesses to shut, we need to provide them financial assistance, period, end of story. I'm also going to be pushing the state, which has somewhere in the area of $17 billion of capital reserves, to start looking at distributing that funding sooner, potentially, in hopes of a federal aid package. There's really no reason why the state should not be looking at that course of action now before it's too late. We don't know what Washington is going to be dictating in terms of federal assistance. We don't know if the Democrats are going to win the Senate back, but we do know one thing, that businesses are going to be shuttering before the end of the year if we don't get some aid to them. So it is a 5-alarm fire. That's my message to you, that I understand that fully. And we need the state to play a big role in business recovery and sustainability. Again, we're asking everyone to sacrifice. It is a collective effort. We need our government to step up. So thanks for having me today. It's wonderful to be here. Look forward to fighting our way through this extremely difficult period. And I hope everyone has a happy, safely distanced Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Senator Hoylman. Excuse me. Thank you, Senator Hoylman, and also thank you for participating in that Pfizer trial. That was above and beyond, and hopefully this is the kind of thing that'll help us turn the corner. So really appreciate that. Now we have to do some business, and that is nominating the nominating committee report and the election of directors. Carla Kudatsky, our nominating committee chair and secretary of the board of directors, and actually audit committee chair too. She does everything. But she is not able to attend this morning. But we are, fortunately, our vice chair, Vienna Margulies, has volunteered to step in her place. So I'd like to turn this over now to Vienna Margulies for the nominating committee report. Vienna.
Thank you, Rob. And on behalf of Carla, I would like to put the names of the following candidates for the board of directors before the membership. Just with these nominating nominees, the East Midtown Partnership will have the largest and most diverse board of directors in its 19-year history. And more than 1/4 of the commercial properties in the district will continue to be represented on the board. Approximately half of the board elected to a 2-year term in odd years and the other half in even years. And the other item is the voting is open only to registered members who can only vote for representatives of their own voting class. If you are not eligible to vote, please refrain from doing so. The votes taken during this meeting should be considered preliminary, but binding. After the meeting, the bid staff will recanvass all the votes to ensure the integrity of the process. And because if there is anything we've learned over the past 2 years is the importance of an honest election. The slate of candidates for election to the board representing Class A members who are property owners to serve through 2022 annual meeting are Kathleen Bardolph from the State University of New York, and the alternate is Johanna Kendricks Holmes. Colin Burke from Max Realty with Josiah Brock as the alternate. Scott Carpenter from 200 East Tenants Corporation. Steve Cherniak from Cohen Brothers Realty Corporation. Fran Del Gorio from Jack Resnick and Sons. Megan Gill from SL Green and Thomas Manufo as the alternate. Carla Beth Kandarsky as Keller Williams. James Malios from Amalia. Virginia McKenna, Sunrise Senior Living, and Charles Miller from Bloomingdale's Macy's. So now you have your voting, please vote.
We've got, okay, we have a majority electing the Class A members. Thank you.
Great. So the slate of candidates for election to the board representing Class B members are Amy Babick from Courant Wine Bar, Mark Donahue, State Bank of India, Noel Donovan, Bloom Tavern, Barbara McLaughlin, Fund for Park Avenue, and the alternate for the Fund for the Park Avenue is Joanne Polisi. Now I ask registers for Class B members to express their support or opposition for this slate of candidates.
We have a majority.
Great. And now ask registers Class C members to please vote for their slate of candidates. And you have the votes on their screen. No?
Could we, yeah, okay, sorry. Could we bring the poll up? There we go. We have a majority.
Great. And finally, the candidates for election to the board representing Class E members who are non-voting members and they will serve 1-year term through 2021 are Barry Schneider, East 60th Neighborhood Association, and David Gillespie as his alternate.
We have a majority.
Great. So on behalf of the nominating committee and Carla, we thank you for your participation in this election. And if you're interested in joining the board of directors in a future date, we're always looking for energetic new members and fresh ideas. So please contact the East Midtown Partnership Office for details. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna, for jumping in at the last minute. We all appreciate that. Now we'll move on to the operations report. And our director of operations, unfortunately, is ill right now. And being ill, of course, that means these days you don't come into the office, you stay home. So Bob Iovino, though, we do appreciate all the work he's put in over the last 17 and a half years that he's been running the operations. I will be very quick because we're going to move to a video in a second. This year, our operations largely fall in three categories: sanitation, which we contract through the Doe Fund; security, which we contract through Allied Universal; and homeless outreach, which we contract through BRC. These are the bread and butter of what we do. Very important. Keeping the area clean and safe is what ultimately a business improvement district is all about. Couple of quick numbers that are important. This year, because of the pandemic, it threw us off, obviously. It has not been a normal year. But so we completely missed the fact that this year we picked up our 2 millionth trash bag, which is phenomenal. We've moved over 23 million pounds of trash off the streets over the last 19 years. And actually over 2 million of that has been in recyclable paper. We were the first bid in the city to launch a recycling program, a street-side recycling program several years ago. We're very proud of that. You see many of the corners, not just our trash cans, but also the green topped paper recycling cans. We have collected over 2 million bags of trash. We have removed over 700 instances of graffiti alone this year, 6,000 since we began. These are all, again, essential to making this area a comfortable and pleasant place to work, to live, to visit. And I want to thank the Doe Fund. I can't thank them enough. I mean, literally, yesterday, I won't get into specifics. Let's just say I got an email 2 days ago, rather, from Sweet Catch over on Lexington Avenue. Michael Eisenberg and Frank Bellucci from there will know what I'm referring to. Let's just say they have to do some very unpleasant things sometimes, and we thank them. Our security team has been with us, some of them since the very beginning. When we started in June 2002, our supervisor, Wardell Striggles, who we will hear from in a moment, at least on video, I should say, has been with us that long, as has Mark Gallen and a few of the other officers. They're great. They're just phenomenal. They've given out over 360,000 directions over the years. They've reported over 1,000 street conditions. They've effectively cleaned up illegal vending in the area. When we started, there were people selling things off of blankets outside of Bloomingdale's. These days, if you find an illegal vendor, it's one that slips through the cracks, and we'll be on top of them right away. So very important to our what we do. And they're actually, they've been around with us so long that they're basically, we feel like they're staff, not contracted employees. And finally, with the homeless outreach team, we brought over 800 people off the streets since 2002. And BRC, we just renewed the contract with them. We'll be going into the 19th year next year, and just a phenomenal relationship. So again, operations are the bread and butter of what we do. Our teams are out there, they're effective, they're efficient, and please say thank you when you see them, because they have worked through this pandemic. While the rest of us had the option, at least, of going home for a while and working from home, our security, sanitation, and homeless outreach teams were out on the streets. And that's the reason why we're about to segue to a video. We wanted to pay tribute to them. We wanted to get their reflections on what it was like being here on the streets during the pandemic. So now if we could bring the video up, let's listen to it in their own words.
BRC has been working in the East Midtown community in partnership with the East Midtown BID for 18 years. And over that time, we have assisted 800 individuals.
We go from having folks who are street homeless and then helping them through the process to get them into housing. However, our work doesn't start or end there.
Doe Fund's mission is to break the cycles of homelessness, incarceration, and substance abuse through paid work to help transform lives so they become independent and responsible individuals like myself. The team itself does all the sanitation, graffiti removal, painting of the street furniture, pick up the garbage bags and drop them off at the Department of Sanitation, along with whatever else we're asked for from the bid.
George McDonald founded this organization 30 years ago. This year, today, it's been 3 years. So that means a lot to the community, to the men and group, to the Doe Fund. Someone saw hope. Someone saw a vision and put it together.
What we do for the public is provide peace of mind and assurance that when you enter East Midtown Partnership, that you will be welcomed with open arms. When we first started, I had a crew that lasted almost 6 years together, and I have at least 5 of the remaining 7 that are still with me, and that makes working here a lot better. You know them well, you know how they are, you know what they're going to say and what they might do, and working together makes it easier to work with East Midtown Partnership.
At the beginning of the pandemic, obviously there was a lot of uncertainty for everyone, and that affected BRC, our staff, the people we served. There was fear of the unknown, of a disease, and of course, we're there on the front line, on the streets, in our shelters, in our detox, in our treatment programs. And so it was really important at the beginning that we made sure our workers were safe. As frontline workers, we are there to help and to heal.
Coming into work and not knowing, it was like a ghost town. I guess there was a sense of fear. Our workers that are in the field, the trainees, they didn't miss a beat. We suited up everybody with PPE, gloves, masks, and so on. And guys wanted to go to work. They wanted to do the right thing. They wanted to give back. And that's what we did.
Psychologically, I was impacted by, on my way to work, you passing hospitals and you seeing big trucks with bodies being hauled off. And just visualizing that and just saying, wow.
So we made sure we social distance in the vans. We made sure the guys had masks, gloves, sanitizer, and whatever else they needed daily. There wasn't as much garbage as there usually is. So we began to sanitize all the street furniture. We followed the CDC guidelines using bleach and water, along with the rags. Wipe everything down continuously throughout the day, each shift, 7 days a week.
We are essential.
The way me and my crew coped with working within the pandemic in the first 3 months, I would go to everybody and I would try to at least understand what they felt. So the way I explained it to them is that, listen, we're needed. Someone has to be out here. Our work assignments didn't really change that much. It's just that we were walking slower. There were less people to encounter. We still get directions. We still check with the merchants. We still check to see if everything's all right. And we still check to see if the homeless needed assistance on a daily basis.
Me and my coworkers and colleagues are essential workers, and it has been a trying 8 months. I think that it has helped us to unite as colleagues and staff, but also has helped gain greater perspective on what was going on in our personal lives and in the context of the larger world.
I think we got closer. We understood that everyone is needed for everyone to help the next person get through this situation.
It feels really good to have our community show such an outpouring of support, whether that be the pots banging at 7 o'clock. That really did, provide inspiration to myself to continue the good fight. I know walking into stores and having people being able to interface with us about, clients that they're seeing and how we are helping those individual clients was really inspirational. When we did manage to get a client connected to services, and the community noticed, and we're excited about not only that person who was connected to services, but the good work that we were doing. Really, really warms your heart.
And so there was an opportunity, we realized, BRC, the YMCA, and the City of New York, to come together and solve the needs of those living unsheltered, to help generate a source of revenue for the YMCA so that it could sustain itself during this period when otherwise its buildings weren't being used, and to help meet the city's needs around homelessness, particularly as the subways were closing every morning. And as a result, I think we opened a really great dialogue to help people understand what the YMCA was going to be. This was not a shelter moving into a hotel all at once. This was a resource that was going to be available with outreach teams making a decision, is somebody appropriate for this model?
I'm optimistic and I'm ready. And I believe East Midtown is ready for a comeback. And we're looking forward to a complete recovery.
Well, look, I'm always an optimist. I see challenges all the time, but I also see solutions. I see it in the work we do. I see it in the work East Midtown has been doing. I've lived in this city my whole life. We've been knocked down lots of times. We always get up, and every time we get up, we get back stronger, better. We learn more. We take that knowledge and we do extraordinary things.
It feels like it's getting better, but I still feel we still have a ways to go.
I think the Doe Fund is much appreciated by the community.
We're keeping the quality of life high.
I definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I can see even with the uptick of traffic, I see the uptick of the personality of New York City coming back. I feel positive about it. The state of the city is coming back. I believe in it. I'm a New Yorker.
That was, that's our team, and I thank them. We will, the video, of course, as will this recording, be on YouTube, hopefully within, maybe today, but very soon. So that concludes the operations report. I would now like to introduce our treasurer, Rob Steinman of Rudin Management, for the treasurer's report. Rob?
Morning. Wow, what a powerful and moving video. That shows what our budget does. It pays for those incredible service people who clean and make our streets of East Midtown secure and provide homeless services, and we are incredibly grateful. As treasurer of the East Midtown Partnership for the past 3 years, I'm very grateful to our fine 14-member Finance Committee, which oversees and scrutinizes our revenue and expenses on a monthly basis and helps us develop our budget, which supports those wonderful services you just saw in that video. Obviously, 2020 has been a very difficult year for city businesses and property owners, but I'm happy to report that our financial picture is solid and there have been no unfortunate financial surprises even during this pandemic. Our assessment revenue was collected by the New York City Department of Finance and distributed back to us in a timely fashion. We would like to thank the commercial property owners of our district for promptly paying their bid assessments in this difficult year. We hope this means that you see the value of this bid to our community, your tenants, and property values. On June 30th, we ended fiscal year 2020 almost $200,000 under budget, with much of those savings attributable to the elimination of programming due to the pandemic. However, as you've already heard, we put 2/3 of our budget directly onto our streets for safety, cleanliness, homeless outreach, and beautification. Because the board of directors felt strongly that those services were needed more than ever, that spending continued throughout the shutdown. The fiscal year 2021 budget, which took effect on July 1st, is closely aligned with the previous year. We budgeted for modest increases to reflect contractual costs for sanitation and security services, as well as rent. We eliminated some proposed new programming to save money in fiscal year 2021 and implemented some other cost-saving measures, including freezing staff salaries. However, we also allocated $40,000 to promote district businesses during the recovery, especially using social media where costs are lower and we can better target our audience. The fiscal year 2021 budget is slightly less than last year's budget, and we anticipate more savings throughout the year. In the first 4 months of the fiscal year, we're almost $100,000 under budget. So if current trends hold, we will end next June significantly under budget. As we prepare our budgets, we keep in mind the many financial burdens on our ratepayers, and many of those ratepayers are members of our board of directors who represent almost 1/3 of the commercial property in our district. Our effective billing rate, roughly 13 cents per square foot of commercial space, remains lower than most other business improvement districts in the city. We think our ratepayers will continue to see the partnership as a value and an asset to those who work, live, shop, and dine in East Midtown. A summary of the fiscal year 2020 fiscal information is included in our annual report. Please note the following. The vast majority of our expenses are for personnel who provide needed sanitation, security, and homeless services for East Midtown. Since 2010, we have invested reserve revenue in fully insured certificate of deposits to provide us a financial cushion to hold off future assessment increases for many years to come. Most importantly, we will ensure that even as we accommodate the reality of increased expenses, we continue to run a lean organization. Our goal is to deliver high quality services and to do it at the lowest possible cost. One final note. We make every effort to keep East Midtown Partnership finances highly transparent. Our annual budget is available on our website along with the previous year's budget for comparison purposes. Our annual audit is also placed on the website. The fiscal year 2020 audit will be finalized soon and then reviewed by the Board of Directors Audit Committee. When approved, you'll be able to find the audit on our website. You can find all of our financial information on our website, and please contact the office with any questions or for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. We are about to turn to the marketing report. I will say that I think it was about 7 years ago now when Sarah Hornung joined the staff. She was a temp for us, and when I first basically offered her the job, her background was in the arts, and she was unsure of if she should take it because a bid is obviously not a museum. I just said that given her skill set, I thought she should take the job and she should make it hers, and she has. So Sarah will now come on and give her marketing report. Sarah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Hornung. I'm the Director of Marketing and Business Development in East Midtown. It's good to see everybody's list of names and attendee list. It's sad not to see your faces. I'm going to run you through some of the highlights of the fiscal year and of the 2020 calendar year. You know, we're here to recap our fiscal year, which most of you know is last year, July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. My remarks truly represent a tale of two cities. Beginning last fall, on October 31st of 2019, we hosted our 5th Trick or Treat with East Midtown. Because of construction in Tramway Plaza, we moved this event to the plaza outside 919 3rd Avenue in 2018, and SL Green happily welcomed us back last year, which was wonderful of them. The event continued to be a huge success for us. Last year, we had a record-setting 102 participating businesses, welcome trick-or-treaters, and we estimate that we had about 4,000 people, a number that seems staggering right now, join us at 919 3rd Avenue. This was a little bit of a dip from 2018. That's directly attributable to the weather on Halloween last year. And so last year, for the first time, we contracted with a survey firm to survey families who attended the event. I won't get into lengthy detail. We've surveyed businesses every year, but we haven't surveyed attendees. And so we got incredibly positive responses from our attendees last year. Almost 100% rated the event good or very good. 96% said they'd be likely to return. 94% said they'd be visiting participating businesses as a result of the event. And then demographically, 60% of our attendees came from the 5 zip codes directly adjacent to the district. And so, as I said, it's a tale of two cities. It's incredibly bittersweet to share all of this with you. Trick or Treat with East Midtown has been such a wonderful success for us. I'm so proud of it. And I'm sure, as many of you know, like so many large scale events, we had to cancel it for this year. We considered the options very seriously. We looked at the city and the CDC guidelines very closely, and we weren't able to come up with a way to host the event safely. With the number of attendees we have, it just wouldn't have been safe. We did do a virtual Halloween though. I'll talk about that at the end of my remarks. And based on everything I've just shared, we obviously plan to bring Trick or Treat with East Midtown 2021 back. And I hope to see all of you, children, not children, board members, right, building managers in costume and participating joyfully next year. As Gail mentioned, in January and February of 2020, we hosted again a celebration of the Lunar New Year. We partnered with our neighboring business improvement districts, Madison Avenue and Grand Central, and we put up wishing trees along 3rd Avenue. A number of participating retailers, we're a little behind, but that's okay. A number of participating retailers gave away traditional wishing ribbons to shoppers who then tied or tossed them into several wishing trees that were on display all along 3rd Avenue. They brightened up the stretch of the street when it was otherwise sort of a gray time in the winter. And wishing trees are synonymous with luck and good fortune, and the practice is synonymous with bringing dreams true in the new year. As we took the wishing trees down and we started to move towards coordinating displaying AIDS memorial quilts in building lobbies again. As a reminder, we displayed 18 AIDS memorial quilts in building lobbies as one of the many things we did as a part of World Pride 2019. And so our plan in 2020 was to continue, and we hope to increase our participation. As you all know, things took quite a turn in March. So I'll add that when the shutdown and the stay-at-home orders came down, things changed on a personal level for me because I went on maternity leave. So kudos to Rob and Bob and our entire operations team. Like so many of you, they were first forced to completely regroup this spring. They took our administrative work to their homes, and they reorganized all the work of our operations team so that it could be done safely. So then as we started to emerge from the really strict stay-at-home orders and figure out how we could adjust, Rob and our team at Sunshine Sachs started to put together really great digital initiatives. First, there was Rob's interview series, which you should be able to see right now, with a series of East Midtown stakeholders where they discussed in important and lengthy and sort of funny detail sometimes how the shutdown and stay-at-home orders were impacting their businesses and lives. It's very small, but there are thousands of views of all of those videos. And then in June and July, when things began to reopen, Rob and Angelica and Nicole put together a series of digital summer Fridays featuring our local bars and restaurants, whose staff and bartenders took viewers at home through really fun tutorials on how to make craft cocktails at home. And they showcased their newly installed outdoor seating for those who are ready to venture outside. In August, Rob relaunched the Passport card. I'll talk about this quickly, but I'll let Rob share some more details in his remarks, as this is something we have been working away at, but he really undertook while I was on leave. The Passport Card is something that was launched originally before I joined the East Midtown Partnership. It grew to more than 100 participating businesses. But with the rise of loyalty programs in the last 7 years, which are truly everywhere now, it needed some dusting off and some revising. And so this August, we asked participating businesses to recommit to the program and commit to a single benefit for all cardholders, 10% off discount when you present your card. And we redesigned the card. So we hope you'll check out the new list of participating businesses. It's on our website, and we hope you'll patronize them. And so then in September, very quickly, although this is really for next year's meeting, we launched the Faces of East Midtown. It's a digital feature on our website and on our Instagram. It's designed to celebrate the humanity in our neighborhood and provide a real and honest look at the people behind our businesses who have gone through unimaginable changes throughout this pandemic and who are fighting for their businesses. New faces are added each week. We featured Aquavit's Emma Bengston, David Juana from Modani, Lana Bargrazer of Allure Day Spa, and quite a few more. We have a few more coming, and they'll be posted 2 a week going forward. I hope you'll check it out. And then in October, as I mentioned, we decided that the best choice was to cancel Halloween, but in an effort to stay connected to the community and the families who have been so loyal to the event and joined us so excitedly, we asked families to share photos with us for a virtual Halloween costume contest. We saw some really great entries from across the city. You can see the winners on the slide there. We had babies, kids, families celebrating safely at home, outside with their bubbles and quarantines. And so we shared those photos on our channels, and then we chose the 4 winners that you can see. They're receiving fun gift bags, and included in those gift bags are VIP passes to Trick or Treat 2021. It'll allow those winners to cut our check-in line, our face painting line, and our photo booth line for next year's event. And so we're working on a few additional digital and virtual events and performances for the holidays and the winter. And I know that our businesses and our cultural institutions are as well. So we hope you'll enjoy them and watch them from the comforts of your home as you stay safe throughout what looks like is going to be a tough winter. Before I conclude, I just want to echo my thank you to everyone who's been so essential to our success this year. So that's Rob and Bob, who did this, my goodness, the 2 of themselves, and all of our operations team, who you saw in that video, Craig and Ray, and all of our supervisors and all of our trainees, and Muzzy and Brian and Jamila and our whole BRC outreach team, and Wardell and our security staff, and our new videographer, John, who made that amazing video. We lost our longtime videographer this year, and John was just terrific. And our photographer, Ron, who's been photographing all of our faces of East Midtown. Let's see, who else? Oh, so, Johanna and the whole SUNY team that you can't see, but they're behind the scenes here at this. Anthony, Michaela, Nancy, Lisa, Patrice, and everyone logged in at Global right now. And then our Sunshine Sacks team. Janelle, Nicole, and Angelica were even more involved this year while I was out, and they've made sure that Rob and our East Midtown businesses have been and continue to be part of the local and national conversation about how this pandemic is affecting New York, Midtown, and small and independent businesses and property owners. As I was writing this, I looked back at my remarks from last year, curious about how I concluded last year. Goodness, it felt like a long time ago. Evidently, last year I said, Rob and I field inquiries from new businesses, established businesses, nonprofits, city and state agencies, New York City media on an almost daily basis, and we look forward to all the 2020 has in store. Goodness, clearly we had no idea what 2020 had in store. So I'll conclude today by echoing everyone's remarks, Senator Hoylman's, Gail's, Councilman Powers, Steve's, Muzzy's, about the seriousness of the situation that we're in. This second wave and the impact on our businesses is dire. And yet also at the same time, the headlines about the vaccines are extremely optimistic and hopeful. And I will read a quote from our Faces of East Midtown series from Geraldine Madonna, who owns Madonna and Company, a salon and beauty bar on 60th Street, who I think captures my hopes for 2021. Our beloved New York and our favorite East Midtown neighborhood has certainly been through a lot over the last 16 months. It has always been an example of an area with great confidence. Hopefully together we can build back the confidence and get that fabulous energy and buzz back to our streets, shops, and our restaurants. That's it from me.
Thank you, Sarah. For those of you, unfortunately, almost everybody of the 100 or some odd people on this Zoom session right now weren't able to meet Sarah's son this morning when he popped in. But Everett is the most adorable baby, and we're thrilled that we had an addition this year to the East Midtown family. And his timing was great because Sarah gave birth prematurely on March 14th. And as you all know, 3 days later, what happened? So, and the best part for us, at least, maybe not for Sarah, is because all of a sudden everyone was working from home. All of a sudden, Sarah really never missed a beat because she was home anyway. So there she was. So, but we're glad to have her back pretty much full time these days. Now I would like to, as you probably know, I forgot to announce this earlier, but I am at the SUNY Global Center on East 55th Street at this moment. Mostly because I didn't want to Zoom in from my office because that would mean I would have to clean my office. So we don't want to go through that. But I need to thank Kathleen Bardolph and the SUNY, everyone here at SUNY, and I'll mention names later. But the person that did make this, first offered up SUNY and then made all this possible, Johanna Kendrick Holmes. I'd like her to say a few words on behalf of the State University of New York. Johanna.
I'm a little shorter than you, Rob. Thank you so much. And thank you, Sarah and Rob and the board. We at the SUNY Global Center have been a very proud member of the East Midtown Partnership, and we are really pleased to be hosting and facilitating this annual meeting, albeit virtually this year. So SUNY Global is the New York City headquarters for SUNY System Administration, but we are also an event venue. And despite the unprecedented circumstances of COVID-19, we have been able to reopen and pivot our event offerings to virtual, hybrid, and socially distanced events, such as this meeting that we're hosting today. We too are optimistic and hopeful about 2021. So as you are thinking about and planning meetings, small meetings or events or anything in 2021, we would love to work with you if the circumstances allow. So thank you again for the opportunity today, and we're thinking of everyone and wishing everyone a very safe and healthy holiday. Appreciate it.
And as I should make clear earlier, also, I'm joined here, in addition to Johanna and Kathleen from SUNY, by one of our newest board members, Scott Carpenter, and Dorothy Cristani, a veteran board member, who volunteered to come in and make motions and second motions. So I thank you, because that would have been a little tough to juggle this on this call. My notes, and I'll try to be very quick because we are running a little over. But I want to, again, thank you all for attending this morning. This is obviously not the best circumstance for a meeting like this. We really like to do this and gather everyone together in one room. Hopefully that will be the case next year. But in the meantime, we're making do with the technology we have. I'm probably like many of you, I never even heard of Zoom until March, and here we are. But as you've heard throughout this meeting, this bid is made up of just a series of teams. Our operations team, our board that is expanding this year, but has always operated, whether they're residents, huge property owners, small business people, community leaders, it's everybody rowing in the same direction. And it is just a phenomenal board, a diverse board. but a group of phenomenal people that step up, all volunteer, that step up and offer their time to make sure that this community is on the right track. And I thank them. All our contracted, we have a number of obviously contracted services that we think of actually as ours. The Doe Fund, great team. You saw Craig Trott and Ray Jones. There are so many other people though out on the streets. Again, thank you if you see them. The security staff, Wardell Striggles and his team, also phenomenal, above and beyond the call of duty over the last couple of months especially, and the homeless outreach team. And then there are everyone else. I mean, there are, as Sarah mentioned, there are, our photographers, our videographers, our PR consultants, our graphic designers. All these people really help make us what we are. Our horticultural team, I should add too. And of course, Bob and Sarah, who none of this would happen if it wasn't for them, either in the office or virtual. They are on top of everything, and I thank them. By the way, I should mention too, besides welcoming Everett, Sarah also last year, one of the highlights of the year was being named one of the city and state 40 under 40. So she just made it under the wire, I think, right, Sarah? But congratulations on that. We also have great partnerships with, of course, SBS. And again, thank you, Commissioner Doris, DOT, City Council, and again, thank you, Council Member Powers, the state legislature, our 3 police precincts, so many other city agencies, so many other state agencies. Thanks to all of them. I want to say a personal thanks, though, to my fellow members of the New York City Bid Association. When the pandemic hit, the first thing we did after we all relocated to home was the bids and SBS collaboratively started to work on measures to help reopen. Back in May, in April, before the realization had really settled in of what this quote unquote new normal is, we were already looking at ways at looking at methods of how we could reopen. So the bids have just been on top of this. There are 76 business improvement districts in this city. We are one of the larger ones, but they in all 5 boroughs, and we all worked again collaboratively for the greater good of the city. Especially my Manhattan colleagues I have to thank, because they've helped keep me sane since March. My very first experience with Zoom was on March 20th, the day I came home and locked up the office and came home, not to return for 13 weeks, and joined a call with my Manhattan colleagues, a happy hour. We have kept those happy hours going now for 8 months. You are not invited, no, because we have private business we have to discuss. But it's the greatest group of people that I think we all have professional respect, but we've all grown extremely close on a personal level. And finally, of course, we value our partnership with the community, and that's the important thing. I can't even begin to name all the people that helped while I was home for those 13 weeks, working from home, and since the end of June, since I've been back in the office. But they've been we've been working almost 2 decades to build those ties, and they really proved invaluable. A few names, of course, Barry and Judy Schneider, who are always keeping us in the loop of what's going on in the community. Kathy Healy, Jill Matthews, Ginny Otway, David Latman. I could go on with the people that were emailing on a regular basis, telling me what was open, what was closed, what the street conditions were. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about the reality of what's happening. It's not over, of course. Yesterday, as you know, well, effective today, the schools are closed. Our virus rates are spiking again. And, I've even, like many of you, I've canceled my Thanksgiving plans. So we need to be careful. We have lots of these East Midtown masks. Please get in touch with me. They're comfortable, they're durable, and they have a pouch for a filter. So be smart, stay distance, wear a mask, and let us know if you want masks. Be like Allure Day Spa. They just took about 20 of them. So for their staff and customers. But anyway, let's look at the future, of course. I'm an optimist. I'm also a realist. A number of our businesses have closed over the last 8 months. More will in the future. But all these partners that I mentioned earlier, if we work together and fight as a community, we could help save our businesses. The businesses have to be created, by the way. Social media is free. I really encourage businesses to work that little harder. Many of you are on top of it, but for some of you, you haven't updated your Facebook page or Twitter feed since about 2015. And really, you've got to try to help yourself while we are trying to help you. So be flexible with your business plans. I know time is limited, but we've got to carve out the time. We've got to carve out the time to promote your businesses, to talk to your elected officials. But it isn't all on your shoulders. We need to get back out there. All of us need to get back out there and start shopping and dining. Don't be irresponsible, but remember that businesses only survive because people patronize them. With the offices closed, it's all the more important that that the residents and people that are here patronize our local businesses. If you have an office, I would consider trying to get your employees back to work as soon as it's prudent. And we understand there are childcare concerns. We understand there are health concerns, but we also need to get people on the streets and sidewalks if we are going to have a healthy, viable economic community. We may have to look at some alternatives too. We just rezoned, of course, a few years ago, as we've mentioned before, and that's phenomenal for the long-term prospects of the district. But maybe now that we've seen how the world has changed in the last 8 months, maybe we need to also reconsider when we rezoned, for instance. We did it with an eye on making this almost an exclusive commercial, the rezoning at least apply only to the commercial projects. And maybe we have to look at trying to inject some new residential units into the area. I've already been a little bit in touch with the Real Estate Board of New York about some ideas some people over there have. And I will take this further. Obviously not alone. I will take this further with consultation with the community and the board. So I would like to tell you we have a lot of grand plans for the next year. I don't, because we have to see where the pandemic takes us. That's driving everything right now. We will continue, though, to market businesses. We will continue to keep your streets clean. We will continue to keep them safe. We will continue to help the homeless. And we will continue to be your voice. I just want to finish up with a few remarks about what East Midtown means to me, and I guess why the survival of this community and the health of this community means so much to me. In January, it'll be 19 years since I was the very first employee of this organization. All my healthcare providers, and unfortunately, because when you're about to turn 62, you have a lot of healthcare providers. They're all here in East Midtown. My dentist, Dr. Pegler, my primary care physician, Dr. Carrie Peterson. They're all here, and that we have an abundance of healthcare providers utilize them. We have abundance of retail, not just Bloomingdale's, but we have the smaller stores and independent stores, Madonna and Company, which Sarah mentioned, Suarez, Harmon, countless businesses utilize them. The home decor industry utilize it. We have restaurants, great Amali, Caviar Russe, Aquavit, Copanet, PJ Clark's, yes, and Bloom's Tavern, where I had the fish and chips last night, because I stayed in the district and we have great hotels, Harvey Hotel, where I stayed. A lot of them are coming back. So have a staycation. Support your East Midtown businesses, and the quicker we can keep a strong economy in this area, the quicker we rebound, and the quicker we can build on our successes of the past and go on to future successes, come up with new programming. Final remarks, and I do mean it now because I'm running on too long. It's been a challenging year, to state the obvious. We adapted quickly, though. We learned how to work at home when we had to. And the burden, of course, the board was great, first of all, I have to say, and I thank them for giving me the leeway to make some quick and sometimes difficult decisions, but they had to be made as far as staffing, as far as protecting our personnel out in the streets. No one second guessed me, and I do appreciate the faith that they had in the judgment. So sometimes greater than my own faith, but I thank them. Steve Cherniak, who took over as board chair last December from our longtime chair, Debbie Fechter. Steve had no idea what was coming, obviously, but was there, has put in extraordinary hours to ensure that this organization kept moving. Rob Steinman, our treasurer, probably the other person who took on an enormous burden as we learned to work from home, along with our bookkeeper, Susan Gill. We went from cutting checks every couple of weeks to doing online banking. And actually, that's something we'll probably will keep doing. I want to thank all the board members, though, because they've just been phenomenal. They have, at a time when exceptional measures were called for, they stepped up and took them. Look, to borrow or paraphrase what Muzzy Rosenblatt from BRC said in the video, here's the last words I want to leave you with. East Midtown is going to come back stronger, better, smarter, and ready to do extraordinary things. Join us, because it's going to be historic. It's going to be great. And I look forward to seeing you next year for our 20th annual meeting. And I want also in January of 2022, we kick off our 20th year. And I think we're going to have a phenomenal year ahead, phenomenal second decade. Finally, it was my fourth finally, I think. The SUNY personnel that have helped out with this meeting, I really thank them. Michaela Rem, Nancy Motondo, Lisa Raposo, Patrice Phillips, and Anthony Rose, who's been here helping us with all the technical stuff. We couldn't have put on this meeting without you. I thank you very much. And now, if the other, we could bring on the other board members for their closing remarks, and then we're gonna finish up.
Yep. I would like to just say something very quickly, Rob, if I may. I want to basically parrot your thanks and appreciation to everyone who's participated in this meeting and all of my colleagues and board members who worked so tirelessly towards moving our objectives forward. And I wish you all health and safety and good holidays with your families. Stay distant, wear a mask, and we look forward to seeing you all personally at the next meeting. And enough with this technology. Except where it helps medically. So I wish you all well and thank you all again.
Thank you, Steve. Fiona?
Well, I just want to say exactly what Steve said, to thank everybody. I think we all are a committee, a group that works very well, and I'm always encouraged by everyone's interest and participation into ensuring that the East Midtown partnership continues to be a strong force, not only now in these very challenging times, but for the future. So I'm most honored to be part of this group, and glad to be working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we can entertain a motion to adjourn. Is that a motion by Dorothy Crestani, second by Scott Carpenter? This meeting is over. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Rob, you guys did an amazing job putting all of this together
I got that soon.
so seamlessly. It was really amazing. Yeah, I don't know.
We can run the slide.